My name is Bishop Lafer. We're here to talk about top tips for real estate marketing with Facebook. I'm joined by Bao Kim, who's another marketing developer analyst here at IDX Broker. As we go along, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the questions box and Bao will take them as we go. And also I will. And if we don't answer your question as we're going along, we'll definitely make sure to leave space at the end to answer any questions that anyone might have. So let's go ahead and get started. So I am the marketing developer analyst here at IDX Broker. I've been doing digital marketing for over 10 years. I'm Facebook Blueprint certified, and Blueprint is the certification that Facebook offers. You take their courses and then you take an audited certification exam. And then I'm also Google Ads and Analytics certified. So that's just a little bit about me. But today we'll be going over creating a Facebook pixel and installing it via IDX middleware. I'm also setting up event tracking using Facebook Pixel, creating a custom audience in Facebook, and then creating a campaign using Conversions Campaign Objective, targeting an ad set using a custom audience, and then editing ad set placement. So this is just so if you do decide to do pay-per-click advertising on Facebook, these are the little tips and tricks that you can use to be as successful as possible. First, we're going to talk about creating a Facebook pixel and installing it via middleware. I kind of just want to talk about what a Facebook pixel is first. So it's just a little snippet of code that allows you to track user data on your website within Facebook's analytics and ads manager. So the first thing that you'll need is a business manager account. And we've actually done a webinar in the past on how to create and set up a business manager account. And we'll send that link out in the follow-up email. If you haven't seen that, it'd be good to watch that one. Once you're in your business account, you'll also need to set up an ads manager account. And so that's what this Lafer Luxury Real Estate is. Within your ads manager account, in order to create a pixel, in the top left is this navigation where it says ads manager. And then under measure and report, there's this spot for pixels. So we'll click on that, and then if you don't already have a pixel, it'll prompt you to create one, or if you do already have one, you can create a new one by clicking the Add New Data Source. And then it'll pop up this little wizard, and it'll kind of walk you through how to set it up. So you give it a name. Today, we're going to go over how to manually add pixel code to your website. This is just one way of doing it, and it may not be the best way of installing a pixel on your website. If you're using like a CMS, like a WordPress or a Wix or Squarespace, then you might be better off installing the pixel within your CMS, or if you don't know how to do that, you might want to reach out to a developer partner, or if you have a developer partner, then you may want them to just install it for you. But for in this example, I'm going to go through how to install it in middleware. To get the code, we'll click on this manually add pixel code to website, and then in this spot where the snippet is, you just click on it and it'll automatically get copied to your clipboard. And then you take that code and you log into middleware, and then here on the left in the navigation under design, website, and then wrappers is where we're going to go to put it. As a heads up, in this area, header HTML, this is blank. I put this HTML code in here myself. And if you're going to install it this way, you do have to make sure that you have semantically correct HTML in here. So you need to open an HTML tag, open a head tag, and then right before the close of the head tag is where the snippet goes. And then you have to have an open body tag. And then in the footer, you have to have a close body tag and a close HTML tag in order for the wrapper to work. Right before the close of this head tag is where I'm actually going to paste that snippet. So it looks like this. And then I'm going to save that. Now, by doing it this way, the Facebook pixel is on all of your IDX hosted pages, but it would not, if you do it this way, it would not necessarily be on your home page if you're using like a WordPress, for example. Once we have that pixel installed, we can set up some events. Events being things like if someone performs a search, I want to know that someone searched on my website. If someone signs up as a lead, I want to know that they signed up as a lead. Or if someone is viewing listing details pages, then I want to know that as well. So Facebook has got this wizard that'll walk you through it. If you just put your URL in it into this prompt here and then open website, it brings you to your website with the Facebook wizard kind of overlaid on it. And so keep in mind, this is a demo site and it has no styling whatsoever. This is just my personal demo site that I'm using as an example so I can show you what this wizard looks like. So in the top left over here on this screen is like this little like a graphical user interface that Facebook provides. It allows you to click track button, and then you click on the button on your website, and then it indicates that it's selected by this blue box. And then select the type of event that you want to track when that button is clicked. So for this circumstance, I'm tracking a search. So I'll choose the event type of search. And so now that there's an event that's set up to fire whenever someone clicks a button with the text of search. So anytime someone clicks search on any page on my website, it'll fire an event to Facebook that says a person performed a search. There are other types of events that I can set up as well. For instance, over here on the right side, if someone clicks a save property, then that is someone who has become a lead. They've converted to become a lead. So I want to track all of those as well. So I'll click on the save property, but I actually want the event to fire on the action when someone does convert. So not when someone clicks the save property button, but instead when someone clicks the button that says sign up here. So I'll click track new button, and then I'll choose the sign up button, and then I'll select an event, and this event is going to be a lead, because at the point that someone has signed up to receive property notifications, then that person is a lead. I have their contact information. Another example would be if someone is viewing content. So I want to set an event on the button for view details. In this example here, I have this link highlighted. In this scenario, it would only send an event for the button with the text of 47840 Wingfield Road, Susanville, California. So instead, the event should probably go on this view details button, because the text on that button is always the same for every single listing. And so also, once someone is on an actual listings details page, then another event that I might want to send would be like if someone scheduled a showing, which I would also consider that a lead event. If someone clicks schedule showing and then they fill out this form and send me this message, I want the actual event to be on send message. So I would hit the track new button and then click the send message button and then make that a lead type. So you can see that I've set up 4 events here. The button text, a lead when someone clicks the button text is sign up, a lead when someone clicks the button where the text is send message, a search event when someone clicks a button where the text is search, and then a view content where this button text should be view details. And so once I have those set up, I can hit finish and come back into Facebook's ad manager. And ads manager, or this time I want to set or create an audience within ads manager. So once I'm in ads manager, I'll click on the top left navigation again, and I'll come over here to assets and then click on audiences. And because I have that pixel installed on my website, now I can tell if a user who has a Facebook account is on my website, and I can put them into custom audiences so that I can remarket to them. So I'll come to this audience tab, and then I'll click create a custom audience. And then my source is going to be from a website using this Facebook pixel. And so I just want to track everyone who comes to my website in the past 30 days, and I'll name that audience all website visitors. And then I will click create audience. And so now we have an audience, and we also have the Facebook pixel with custom events. We can now create a campaign using a conversions campaign objective. So when we run Facebook campaigns, if we use a campaign objective, then Facebook will optimize your ads to show up in front of users who are more likely to perform a search or become a lead based on their temporal factors in machine learning and artificial intelligence software that they run. It's kind of similar to what Google has been doing. So in order to do that, we'll come back into the ads manager, click in the top left navigation and click ads manager, and then come to the campaigns tab. We'll click create a campaign. And so for the objective, normally if you don't have custom Facebook pixel events, then you would just run a traffic campaign. But instead, because we have those events, we can now run a conversions objective campaign, and we just tell it which conversion we want to optimize for. So this example, it just says search. I would probably run a campaign optimized for a lead, because the lead is probably more valuable than someone who just performs a search. Someone who registers to receive property updates is probably more likely to be buying than someone who's just searching, or they're further in the purchasing process at the very least. So now that we have this campaign with the conversions objective, we're going to target this ad set using that custom audience that we just created. So if you look here, we are in the ad set section, and we're under audience. And so where it says create new audience or use saved audience, there's just an input bar underneath that says custom audiences. And if you click into it, it'll start searching, or it'll bring up a list of all the audiences that you've already created. And so you can see that all website visitors list that we created is just right there. So I'll select that. This, I feel like, is probably the most important little tip that I can give you guys today, is if you want to get the most bang for your buck, you should edit your ad set placements, because it's really easy to spend a lot of money doing pay-per-click advertising. So if you optimize your ad set placements, then your ads will only show in places where they're most likely to be seen. And so in order to do that, we're still under this ad set section and where it says placements. When you start a campaign, if you don't pay attention, it's easy to just go right over this because there's a lot of information. But automatic placements, it says recommended, but in my personal experience, my campaigns have always performed better when I edit the placements and I take everything but Instagram and Facebook out. So I only want my ads to show up in the Facebook newsfeed and in the actual Instagram feed. Everywhere else, it doesn't contribute to campaign success. It just costs more money. I want to uncheck Audience Network, uncheck Messenger, and then uncheck every single box except for Facebook newsfeed and Instagram feed. So it should look like this. These are the only two boxes that should be checked, and this is how you'll get the most for your money in Facebook advertising. Because we have those custom events installed on our website, if we wanted to see how many people are performing searches or how many people are signing up for leads, whether or not they're associated with the Facebook campaign, you can see that. And that would be located under this analytics tab underneath measure and report in the navigation. I don't actually have any traffic, and so I didn't have an example of a report to show you. But if you do install a pixel and install custom events, then this is where you can go look and analyze that data. So just to kind of recap, the key takeaways are you should use a Facebook pixel to build remarketing audiences. You can target your advertisement to people that you know are interested in your brand because they've already visited your website. And then you can track site usage with Facebook pixel events. So you can see how many people perform a search, how many people register as a lead, or how many listing details pages are visited. And then you can use those pixel events to optimize your campaigns. By using the pixel events to optimize your campaigns, by targeting ads to engage users with those custom audiences that you build, and then make sure to edit your ad set placements to get the most bang for your buck. And then I have a bunch of time for questions if anybody has any questions. Mary says, what about devices for ad placements? That's up to you. Typically people use Facebook more on a mobile device. So I would honestly, I leave it wide open on devices. As a real estate agent, I think I want my ads to show for anybody, and if they're in that specific area or if they're in the remarketing list that I've built, so long as I think that the person that I'm targeting is someone who I would want to see my ad, I don't really care what device they're on. Okay, so Rolanda Daniel asked, can you go into more detail about the Facebook pixel setup? I did not understand what was supposed to be above the pixel in the header section. So honestly, the best way to install it if you're using a CMS would be to install it via your CMS. If you are not using a CMS, then you can install it via IDX middleware. But if you do install it via IDX middleware, it's only going on your IDX hosted pages. If you could tell me what CMS you have, I can maybe give you a little bit more insight. But I just want to make sure that you understand that installing it via IDX middleware is not necessarily the most ideal way to install it. Okay, so it seems like there are a lot of questions around getting the code into IDX. So I'm going to scroll back to that slide. So this is just one way of installing the Facebook pixel into IDX Broker. If you're using a dynamic wrapper because you have a CMS like Wix or Squarespace or WordPress, then you want to install the pixel into your CMS. If you're not using a CMS and you're just using IDX Broker and you have like some sort of custom solution, then this is how you would want to do it. All I was saying about this HTML that's in here and the header HTML and the footer HTML, in order for this wrapper to work, you have to have an opening HTML tag, head and body. If the HTML is not semantic, this wrapper won't work. But honestly, I think that this is not the ideal way to do it. If you have a developer partner, you should reach out to your developer partner to have them install it. Or if you're using a CMS and doing it yourself, then you should install the pixel via your CMS. So for instance, WordPress has a spot where you can put snippets, JavaScript snippets in the head, and then Wix does as well, and so does Squarespace, where you just copy and paste that code into that area where it injects the JavaScript snippets into your pages. Rolanda asks, is the CMS the same thing as Lion's Desk? No, Lion's Desk is a CRM, which is like a customer relationship manager, whereas CMS is a content management system. So the Facebook pixel snippet would not go into Lion's Desk. It would be more like something like WordPress or Wix or Squarespace. Helene asks, will there be a recording of this webinar? Yes, there will be, and we'll send out a follow-up email with a link to that one, as well as the one about how to set up a Facebook Business Manager. Are the slides going to be able to review? Yes, we'll send the slides out with the email. Do you recommend a separate pixel for domain versus IDX subdomain? No, I do not, Rory. I think that you should use the same pixel for your main domain as well as your IDX subdomain. And that's why I'm installing the pixel via your CMS is the best way to go, because if you do install your pixel via the wrapper in IDX Broker like this, then the pixel will only go on your subdomain. And then Helene says, what's a CMS? A CMS is a content management system. So it's something like WordPress or Wix or Squarespace that actually gives you like a graphical user interface to manipulate your website from the back end. Art says, show me where to get the Facebook pixels. So we have an entire webinar that goes over how to create a Facebook Business Manager account along with a Facebook Ads Manager account. And you need to have those two things in order to get a Facebook pixel. So we'll send out a follow-up email that has a link to that webinar in it. Robert says, hi, can I use at the same time pixels on the IDX pages and others that are fired by the visiting webpage? You can use multiple pixels. For instance, if you're trying to think of another example of a pixel, like something like, so if you're using another pixel, for instance, something like Crazy Egg to do heat mapping, or if you want to install analytics, a good way to manage all of those pixels in one place would be to use Google Tag Manager, which I believe we also have a webinar on how to install Tag Manager and use that to manage all of these pixels in one place. And we can put the link to that in the follow-up email as well. Mary says, I have my pixel on my WordPress widget. Will that track IDX? Yes, it should. Helene says, if you put it in your website, how do you track events? You can track them under the Analytics tab within Ads Manager, but Facebook is actually tracking it. And then you can just go see what that usage is. Mary, if you're using a WordPress plugin to install a Facebook pixel into your WordPress and you're using a dynamic wrapper, then yes, it should track your IDX pages. So long as every one of your IDX hosted pages is within your wrapper, so it looks as though it's a unified site experience. It doesn't look like you're going from one website to another website when you perform a search, then yes, it will. Rolanda asks, what is the issue with the pixel only working with the subdomain? So if the pixel only working on your subdomain is an issue, because then you're not tracking the traffic on your main domain. So if someone Googles your business, then typically the first result would be your actual domain name. And if you're running campaigns and you're driving campaigns to your homepage, then all of that traffic would not be tracked if the pixel only exists on the subdomain. You want it to be on your regular domain as well as on the subdomain. Mary asks, do I exclude content and publishers and gaming stream? Yes, the only places that you want your ads to show up are in the Facebook newsfeed and in the Instagram feed. Mary asks, have you seen better results with traffic or awareness? It depends on what results I'm looking for. So awareness would be, I would run that campaign to get like brand lift, and the things I would pay attention to there is, do I see an increase in traffic to my website? And what is the frequency of my ad showing? Is my frequency something that's like crazy, like 6, or the same person has seen my ad 6 times in a day? That's probably too much. Or do I have a big enough audience of people who are seeing my ad? And is the frequency more like 3? Because 3 is probably pretty good. For a traffic campaign, then I would want to have these events installed so I know how successful it is, because I want traffic on my website, but I want good traffic to my website. So people who are likely to perform a search, or people who are likely to register or save a property and actually become a lead, convert, and give me their contact information, and so that I can reach out to them and find out what area they're looking for homes in and cater more results specific to them and nurture that into an actual sale. I've seen good results with both, I guess, is the answer to that question, but the results for the traffic campaign type versus the awareness campaign type are two different things. Robert asks, do you have to create events on your webpage for everything that you want to track? Yes. I wouldn't do every link and every picture. Instead, I would do the things that are more generic that apply to every single listing. So like, for instance, the view details, or that the text for your search is always going to be search, and that the text for your save property is always going to be sign up, or that the text for your schedule is showing is always send a message. So you only have to put one event. The event is just detecting for a click on a link that has the text of send message. And so that code exists on every page of your website. And so you only have to make that event once and it'll work on every page. So you want to use the generic links that apply to every single listing. Otherwise, it would just be too difficult to manage. Okay, so Robert has a really good question. With the recent changes about housing niche, this targeting has really gone very broad. What would you suggest we do to improve the targeting with Facebook, because there is no geolocation, age, gender, or income selection? There is still geolocation. Definitely. What I would recommend is, if you have an existing list of customers, previous customers and current customers, I would take that list with just first name, last name, email, and phone number, and you can upload that into Facebook. And then you can create what's called a lookalike audience from that, which the lookalike audience will end up being huge. But basically, Facebook will take that list of people, see if those people have accounts based on their first name, last name, email address, and phone number. And if they do, then they will build a separate list of users who look similar to those that are in your list. And then I would take that list, it'll end up being huge. Typically, they're like over 1 million users. And then I would use geolocation targeting to narrow that way down. So I would create a lookalike audience based on your existing customers and then narrow that audience down by only targeting the specific area where you operate and do business in. Mary asks, how many days would you retarget for? So if I have a list, and I would start at 30 days, this is just kind of generic. Realistically speaking, you should determine what your user's buying cycle is, like how long that is. Do people typically look for a house for 30 days? Do they look for a house for longer than 30 days? Another thing that I would take into consideration when making that decision is if my audience isn't big enough to target ads to at 30 days, then I might want to widen that up and make it bigger, go to 90 days or maybe like 180 days, depending on how large of an audience you have. Because it has to be at least 1,000 people in order to target ads. And if it's not big enough, then you won't show ads. No matter how much money you want to spend, it will not show ads because it's not a big enough list. Art says, when setting up the business manager, does the name need to be the Facebook business page or my real estate business name? I would go with your real estate business name because you want to be uniform across the web so that it's easily recognizable and not confusing for your users. Robert says, how do I track events on another page? So if you install the Facebook Pixel via CMS and make sure that it is on every single page, and you can track events on every page on your website. Art says, does it make a difference if there are many agents in the brokerage? That one kind of depends. If you're running a campaign for the brokerage and you're just driving users to your overall website rather than individual agent sites, then that's one thing. If you're trying to drive traffic to individual agent sites, then it's another thing. I think that would require like a little bit more of a one-on-one kind of consultation thing to really be able to answer that question. Robert says, geolocation now is a minimum of 20 miles. I think it's 10 miles. You can also just target by zip code or by city name. If you're trying to target only people in a neighborhood, then you'll probably have a little bit of trouble with that. But I mean, also 20 miles isn't necessarily huge. So David says, what about vacation markets like Hilton Head Island? If you're trying to show ads in Hilton Head, then you should use geolocation targeting. If you are trying to show ads about Hilton Head, then you could use other targeting options. For instance, like job title or interest. But there's no longer income level or income based targeting, unfortunately. That would have been a good one for vacation markets, but that has gone away since GDPR came around. So Rolanda says, thanks for your help. I just set up the Facebook Pixel through WordPress. It was much easier. It asked me to test an event. What is this asking me to do? So if you install the Pixel on WordPress, then you can test to make sure that the Pixel is receiving data correctly. You don't necessarily have to set up an event if you don't want to. You can just collect regular Pixel traffic, which you can use to build audiences with. But if you want to optimize your campaigns, then you should set up events for things like searches and for lead registrations. Yeah, Facebook makes it pretty easy. So if you're using Google Tag Manager or Squarespace or Wix, there is a wizard that'll just walk you through it. If you are using a dynamic wrapper with Squarespace, then your IDX broker pages should have the Facebook Pixel on them now. So Robert asked, do I still have to connect IDX broker to Facebook? If you installed it via Squarespace and are using a dynamic wrapper, then at this point, your IDX broker pages do have a pixel on it. Robert, do you still have to insert that snippet into middleware on IDX? No, you shouldn't have to if you're using a dynamic wrapper. When IDX broker crawls your pages and grabs your wrapper and creates your dynamic wrapper, then the Facebook pixel will get gathered in with that. So David says, since my audience is outside the area, does the Pixel pick up those people who visit my site from New York? Yes, the Pixel picks up traffic to your site from anywhere in the world. Wherever that person is visiting your website from, the Facebook Pixel will still pick them up. So Robert says, what is the purpose of connecting that code? So that is one way that you can install it if you're not using something like Squarespace or Wix or WordPress. There's IDX Broker as a platform, and it can be used with any type of CMS, or you can build out your own custom solution. And if you're not using a CMS, then that is where you would install that Facebook Pixel. But if you are using a CMS, then you should install it via the CMS, which it sounds like you've accomplished that. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, if nobody else has any questions, then I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar. Thank you all so much for joining us today. If you're having trouble installing your Facebook Pixel, feel free to reach out to support And look out for the follow-up email that'll have links to the other webinars about creating a business manager account and an ads manager account, and also managing pixels via Google Tag Manager. And thank you all very much. Have a great day.